Thank you guys all for coming to this presentation. It's a little bit about what Reach is, how it works, why it does what makes Reach unique, why it's different from a lot of the other solutions. So let's just dive into it. So first, when we're answering this, we really have to start with making sure our definitions are in the same page. So what is reporting? So what is the premise of reporting? What's the objective of reporting? What are we trying to accomplish? And reporting is on a spectrum because, I mean, frankly, even the dashboard in your car is reporting information to you. So it's on this spectrum of like reporting is providing all sorts of different information. But in our case, we really have to convey this need to know information. So what is the need to know information? Ultimately, our job as accountants is to provide the information to our clients so that they can make actionable decisions. If they can't, in some ways, we may have failed at our job. We have to simplify the information. We have to digest the challenging accounting information, simplify it, and make it possible. Now, we get a little bit playful in this presentation, but this information does have to resonate. If it doesn't resonate with the client, one, for any of you building your CAS practice, things get really difficult really fast. It has to resonate. It has to connect with them. But often, they don't read the reports. I mean, how many times have we done this? We send a report to our client, they don't even read it. It's like, ugh. And you're thinking, you really need to know this, but they don't understand. We haven't communicated the story to them such that they're even interested in reading it. They don't understand the reports. And the worst of all, this by far is the worst of all, they misunderstand the reports. If we provide something to them and we think that they're on the same page as us, but they're not on the same page as us, they think that gross profit and net profit are just kind of the same thing, or they don't even know the difference. I mean, how many times have we run into people who don't even know the difference between revenue and profit? It happens all the time. Or they think that gross profit is all profit. It's just, there's so many things, and we're just in one little area. Here's the sad part. It causes them to devalue the advisor, us. We are providing something. Now, whether or not this is true, we absolutely know that the inverse is true. That when they value their reports, they value their advisor more. And I can tell you why we know. We have thousands of advisors using Reach. And we hear back from not only their clients, but them when they are receiving, or after they've received the reports. We sometimes have our advisors come to us and almost like choking back alligator tears, they're saying, we've never connected on a level like this before. We've never been able to explain the information to them before. So what do you have to do? Well, you have to solve a couple of problems, and there's two major problems. The first problem is that they need powerful, compelling, and understandable, by the way, reports. They need all of this stuff. So they're asking so much of you. You have this really, really hard tasks, reports that are easy to read, hold their attention, they're clearly understood, they're well explained, they're actionable. Oh, and by the way, they have to look sensational because that's the day of age we're in. So you have to do all of these things, and they're going to need it by the 8th this month because, we got to move things ahead. So here you have this impossible task already because this is really what clients want, and they want it for lots of reasons. One of the biggest reasons is that they see what's out there and they think that that's normal, that people should get Google level glossy annual reports. They think that's normal, that Google's not spending $300,000 to build that report per sub company of Google. The second problem is it's nearly impossible to build those reports. And I mean this sincerely, especially with the tools that we generally have, because what do we always resort back to is, often the Excel type stuff. It's so difficult. They have to be descriptive. They have to tell a compelling story. Of course, you have to have multiple clients because you got to eat. It has to be every month, and it's got to be competitive. So here we have this really identified problem, and we need to find some solutions. So here's what we did. We searched for the tools. This is what we did in our market research 8 years ago as we were hunting for what we were trying to accomplish. Actually, 9 years ago now. We found the hardcore solutions. You'll notice some logos here. The pros of them, of course, they're extremely powerful. They have unlimited possibilities and you can connect to anything. But of course, they're extremely costly, whether in time or effort, because it's a massive time investment. They're impossible to duplicate. I have analysts on my own team, and I said to them, look, you can use Power BI, you can use Tableau, whichever tool that you cut your teeth on that you like the most. And they would consistently migrate towards Reach, which has it's inferior to Power BI. I'm not suggesting Reach is the same as Power BI. They use it because of this. With the ability to duplicate with those big tools, it's nearly impossible. You have to rebuild each of those APIs if you're going to do it at all. So you're rebuilding queries, your APIs, it's just a nightmare. With Reach, you can connect to one company with one report, and you can take that exact same report, save it as a template, and it automatically updates with the next company, and the next company, and the next company. Here's what I will say to you guys. Please, I'm begging you, for your sake, when you take and build a report for your client, and you're using one of the Reach reports, which we'll get into in a second, don't you dare give it to them within 3 days of you engaging them. Because it cheapens it for you. These reports take time for you to build. And some of them, literally, you will build some sensational reports and they will take time. Once they're built, they're templates. And you could add them to any company. But sometimes it cheapens it if you just give it to them right out the gate. And finally, of course, the technical need. Now you have the basic solutions. You're not going to see any logos here because some of those logos are among us. But here's the cons of some of the more basic solutions. They enable the basic functions, yes. You can easily add your clients. The reports look really nice, but they lack the customizability. They're often cookie cutter. Even if you needed to make some change, it's really, really difficult. And scaling can be very challenging, especially with those, well, it's really the client that all of us have that says, oh, this is cool, but it would be really cool if you could add whatever. So you often need this comprehensive support, which is either for pay or it's extremely cumbersome to work with the teams to build that. So it's back to the spreadsheet. So we then said, okay, what does the perfect reporting look like? What would that look like? It would have to be intuitively easy to learn. And we don't mean that as like a cliche, because that is cliche. But it had to feel natural. It had to feel like you already knew how to use it. Like you already cut your teeth on the formulas. Let's use those same formulas type thing. It had to be fully customizable. So you could do whatever you wanted with whatever you wanted to do. But it also had to completely automate mundane tasks. I had a nightmare when I was like a little kid, and I didn't remember this until like about a year ago. I was 7 years old, and I woke up in a panic, and I ran upstairs to my mom and dad's room, and I woke up my dad, and I was like panicking, and I was feeling this never-ending pain. Honestly, sometimes I feel like when we're working and we're doing the same stupid thing that we did last month and the month before and the month before, and it's trivial. Okay, if it was something cool where you got to like, use your skills, great, but you're doing these trivial things. Oh my gosh, let's get rid of those. We have technology, let's get rid of them. This goes without saying as well. It's not cliche, but it goes without saying. It had to astonish the clients. And it doesn't necessarily have to astonish them with sexiness. I don't mean sexiness, but I mean, here's the funny thing about when we pick up a report. Can I use your book? When we receive a report, we're receiving this report as a CEO or whatever, and we look at it and we immediately assess it. And we say, okay, how hard is this going to be for me to digest? And then we decide if it's too much pain, we put it right here. And we will store it for later when we have lots of energy and nothing to do, which is never. So whenever we're building stuff like this, it is imperative, and I mean this sincerely, and I don't care what tool you use. You do use the tool that's right for you. This isn't a pitch. I'm not trying to pitch Reach. But whatever tool you use, absolutely make sure you tell a story. So you start, what we've done is, as we built these reports, we got amazing feedback from the tens of thousands of clients everywhere that are using these reports. We got all this feedback, and some of the things we got were, oh, yeah, I wasn't really into it. It wasn't interesting. Well, that's what they say. But what do they mean when they say that? What are they actually saying? What they're saying is either I'm too busy and, oh, I don't want to burn the calories that it's going to take to burn through this jerk. It seems like it's going to be really painful. And it possibly is. Maybe it's not in the language that they can communicate in. They're trying to communicate to you that this is hard. It's maybe not understandable. It's not easy. So what if we could go in with a principle, and this is one of the principles of psychology that we actually build in all of our report templates. When you come to Reach, we never want you to have to start with a blank slate. We're going to give you templates galore. So you have everything you need to build whatever you need right out the gate. But then you can make the modifications, because no matter what, your client is going to say this, oh yeah, that's really cool, but you know what'd be really, really cool? They always say that. So you need those tools to be able to do that. But let's get you started running. So one of the things we build into it is absolute milk before meat, no matter what. Milk, meat. So the first stuff, you can you open it, and we want to build the reports, and we literally employ like brilliant minds to build these reports. You want to have the super simple stuff. You want these reports to be page turners. You want to almost entice curiosity so that they want to see what's on the next page. You want it to be interesting to them. But you also need them to see those drivers, but they won't understand those drivers, those main takeaways, if they're not interested in what's happening. And often we don't get interested until things are really dire, and we have to get interested, and we have to take everything off our schedule, and now we focus on the main reports, right? But if we could start earlier with something that really, really had this functionality, that would be super cool. Super cool. We started with this. I saw a billboard on the freeway one time. It said, spreadsheets are dead. No more spreadsheets. The future is here. And I was like, okay. I mean, I don't know who the marketing team was, but this isn't what I'm hearing, but let's find out. So I went to my people, you guys, literally, when we started Reach, we started it doing something different. And then we found this audience of accountants, and you guys were like, you're so close to something. If you do these things, you will have a phenomenal product. And we said, if we're going to do it, you're going to have to guide us every step of the way. And we asked them to commit to doing it. And it was some of the, actually, some of you know some of these people. They're here in among us. But we went to the accountants and we polled them constantly. With every launch of everything we did, we asked our accountants. We said, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? What do you think of spreadsheets? They said, spreadsheets are the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. I would marry a spreadsheet if I could. And we said, so they're not dead and the future is here? They're like, who told you that? That's delusion. No, absolutely no. We said, okay, so what's the problem with the spreadsheets? They said, there are some things about spreadsheets, so maybe they're not ideal, but no marriage is going to be perfect. And we're like, okay, yeah. So tell us what is wrong. They said the data, it's brutal, it's tough. Because when you have to update the data, it sucks. Updating data sucks. Even if you have the system down, you can export it to here and you have it built so you can copy and paste, whatever. It's tough, it's a pain. Well, what about being able to update the data? What about the columns? Next month when you're now in September, October, November, what about the columns updating? Would that be helpful? They said, yes. Oh my gosh, yes, that would be amazing if we could get columns. Would it be helpful if you could have formulas in that you could apply to this. And they said, yes, 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 all these things. So now what you have in Reach is you can select what type of row you want, what type of data you want from multiple different import sources. You can put in a row here in the middle of between these two that's a custom row where you could do some formula that's an aggregation of 9 other rows or whatever you want. And then you can hide everything else. In fact, we built this little jerk in here, and this is how we're going to be indicted into the in the next Enron scandal, because we enabled our beautiful accountants to be able to manipulate the statements. We thought, yep, this is the end for us. And they and you know, it was like we had a few of them say, like, yeah, we need to manipulate the statements. We're like, oh, okay. And they said, no, seriously, like we need to. And then we went out to a bunch of other accounts and like, yeah, we need to do that all the time. Like, I'm like, hang on, you need to manipulate the state, like the. They're like, yeah, like we need to be able to add a row or pull rows out or hide certain rows. I'm like, okay, this is crazy. But we heard it from like 100 accountants, so we're like 10-4. So we built in the functionality to hide, to add in rows, to remap rows in a finished statement. And that enabled them to do amazing things where they were able to have their clients go get loans from banks that they currently have accounts with, competitive banks or whatever. You know, they just enabled them to do some really cool things, eliminations and the amazing stuff you can do because you're working in a spreadsheet environment. Oh, you want to change this one to a forecast? Great. You want this one to be class A, B, C, D, E? Fantastic. You can do whatever you want. So it had to be able to do those things. And so this is what we built. Oh, and down here, this is what your client sees. This is what you get to play in because this is the place you and I love to be. This is where your client wants to see. It had to have drag and drop functionality. Let's see if we can get this. So you really had to have very, very simple functionality. Now, you guys might have more of a design eye than me. I'm not a designer, nor do I ever really want to be a designer. But I love what designers do. I don't know how they think to put, you know, a little, let's see if we can show that again. Designers are so amazing because they have these brilliant brains and they think, you know what, it would be really cool. Let's put a little blue box here, but we'll stop it here, not here. And they'll put a line through that. Like, I don't know how they think to do that stuff. We've handled that for you. In fact, we even have report builders for you if you want to commission additional builders. We have the analyst side of that, and we have the design side of that to help you have whatever you need. But it's all built on this drag and drop functionality, which is ultra simple. We needed to have pre-built designs, and a lot of them. You're starting with a contractor that's in construction, awesome. You're going into somebody with dentistry, great. You need somebody who's in the medical field, fantastic. You get a ton of these different templates to help you really give them something they need. You're working with a fitness group, awesome. So you have these things at your fingertips. And then maybe the most important of all of them is this ability to save the templates. So anytime you build a report, a metric, or a dashboard, you can save that as a template, meaning you can apply that to any number of your new businesses. We had one guy that came to us once and he simply printed off the demo report. Now, this is not the standard, I'm not suggesting it is, but it is an interesting story. He printed off one of the demo reports. He went and sold it, and I'm guessing he was a pretty good salesman, but he went and sold it 13 times, this demo report. And he got 13 subscriptions for him to build this report for his clients. He hadn't even started using Reach. Hadn't even touched it before. He sold it 13 times, and he sold it for $2,000 a month. He came back giddy as he was explaining this story to us, and we thought, oh my gosh, this is astonishing. It's so cool that people can do that. We want that so badly. The powerful tools that you need. So of course, this planning and budgeting, consolidations, multi-currency, ARAP, integration, non-financials, eliminations, classes, all of this stuff, checking the boxes that you desperately need, because we all have those clients that just have crazy stuff. They need special stuff. They need those things done. Yes, conditional formatting. Yes, consolidations by class. They're hard things, but you have to solve for these problems, and you are not alone in this. We want to enable you to not only solve for them, but be a genius at it. We want to enable you to be able to stay in that space. We want to enable you to build these reports once, but build sensational chef's kiss level reports so that you can give to your client and change their approach and look at their own business. That's the kind of stuff you need. Right? Like we were so sick of hearing all these stories about how you were being, and every one of us have heard these stories before, but how you were being forced to work on not billing certain hours or working insane hours and only getting billed for being able to bill for a portion of it because you're trying to solve for one of these stupid problems that the client has, and you can't do it within the budget that they have. It's just that needs to stop. We need to give you some tools that can really, really enable you. I will say a couple of things. When you build reports and you have the ability to, wherever it is, pull in the non-financial data, and you can pull it in, and you have a Google Sheet at the office, the client's office, and the office manager has agreed to fill in all that stuff, you can create the coolest stuff ever. So simple and completely automated now. And I don't mean like you set it up for 3 days and then it's like it'll work and most of it'll work for the month. No, no, no. I mean, you have them put in the number of walk-ins, the number of hygienist hours, the number of hygienists, the number of dental chairs, the number of parking spaces. Have them put that in. You get that information in a live feed from the Google Sheet. She still has the Google Sheet at her office. You get it in Reach. It's flowing into Reach. You can use that as one of the rows in wherever it is in here. You could pull in a Google Sheet here. You could hide it, pull in the Google Sheet, have 3 more formula rows that are calculating crazy stuff. The trend of the last 3 months or whatever by this, divided by this, and a ratio of that, and then all divided by total income. And now you have something that you're giving to your client that they're like, I didn't even know this was possible. And you're doing it like with one hand tied behind your back. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, that's the kind of stuff we want to see. And then when you come back to us, tell us these stories because we love perpetuating them. We love telling more people from our group about these same stories. And I know that these things will happen. I know it because I've seen it so many times. It's really, really cool when you start to build a relationship with your client where they feel like you know them and they're providing something and you are able to create super cool things for them because you're not having to do the ridiculous mundane tasks. We automate a bunch of the data input. You can do it in formulas. You can use those over and over again. You come up with some new metric tomorrow. Awesome. Template, add it to each company. So you have this amazing, amazing ability. Thank you guys for taking the time. Oh, and some of this lame stuff like AI reporting, and we don't even have time to touch on some of these things. But there's so many cool things. Thank you guys for taking the time. You guys have been amazing. If you have any questions, feel free to come talk to us. We're also at that booth right over there. And I'm so excited for the things you guys are going to do. You guys are awesome. Thank you.